Hey, I'm Grace Hartzell, and I recently made a transition from pretty independent and active lifestyle to being confined to a wheelchair and living in my parents' living room. I grew up in Houston and attended the High School for Performing and Visual Arts for vocal performance and spent most of my time in that chunk of time uh, singing, playing piano, running, and either making or participating in mischief. I started at UT for geology and then realized that I much preferred climbing rocks to studying them. So I tried out for UT's climbing team and attempted to change my major. I made the team on the first go round, but it took me about a year and a half for an official transfer to a BS in microbiology and infectious disease to occur. I have a cat named Captain and a dire wolf named Lieutenant, who we call Louie, and they pretty much run my life. So when I'm not serving them, I like to be outside, preferably barefoot and on the move. I love snakes and bones and all things generally considered to be nasty, except roaches. I can't, My favorite collections are my rocks, things that I helped remove from surgeries when I was working as a vet tech, and my wall art, which consists of climbing posters, herp and nature photos, and then also large prints of viruses and brain and blood scans, which I'm most proud of. So the first question is, what event led to me being in a wheelchair? How long am I in the wheelchair? And when do I start physical therapy? I was on a climbing trip in Colorado, and one of the last climbs of the trip and last day of the trip, I was very hard-headed and continued climbing a route that I knew I shouldn't and that I had said I shouldn't. So I ended up taking a 30-foot fall, shattered my right talus, got a compound tibial fibular fracture, burst L5 fracture, and then some fancy term for you destroyed your right shoulder. Then Rocky Mountain Rescue came and got me and took me to the emergency room, or transferred me to be taken there. And I had emergency surgery on both legs that night, and then surgery to reconstruct my humerus later in the week. And then I spent a solid week in the Boulder Trauma Center, which was conveniently like 15 minutes from where I was climbing. So, that I had a lot of good angels on my side or something. Um, and then another week and a half in an inpatient rehab center, and then was finally given approval to travel. And so I went from Colorado back to Houston. And physical therapy, we're kind of waiting on me to have more than one limb, because my left leg is full weight, but I mean that's pretty much it. And then, so hopefully it'll start any day now, and hopefully also I will be trading in the wheelchair for a knee walker pretty soon so I can scoot around, but I won't know until it gets here. Right, so the second question is, what are the things it's made you realize that I took for granted, and what plans had I made in the coming months that were interrupted? So starting with the second of that, I had set aside this summer for climbing trips and to just kind of work off and on between that. So I mean, yeah, it sucks that I don't get to do that, but also I didn't have an internship or something, super important that I'm missing out on. And the things that it's made me realize that I took for granted, other than movement and, not having to think about where I can go and, all of that stuff. It's it's mostly those. Because you don't ever really think about, is this place handicap accessible? Am I going to be able to get in here? Am I going to be able to go to the bathroom? And I have a peanut bladder, so that's been really fun. You know, being able to live on my own and not rely on people, that's been probably the biggest thing, is having to just constantly depend on someone. Like full-time babysitter, essentially, is what I need. The third question, which freedoms have I lost for the time being, i.e. living situation, having to move back home, my dependence on others, etc. I mean, that covers it, a lot of it. Just the freedom to live on my own. And up until the fall, I was not very open and honest with especially my parents about who I am and what I enjoy, and so this has really made me kind of sit down and go, okay, well, I mean, it's my parents. I need to be honest with them and open with them, and I need to have a better relationship with them. And so, yeah, it sucks having to move back in with your parents, but at the same time, I'm really glad that this has happened, because it's given me time to actually sit down and go, okay, let's be completely honest with yourself and your parents, and just kind of get straight with your life and just stop fucking around. And dependence on others, that is a huge one for me. I hate asking for help. I hate being helped. I hate people asking how I'm doing and if I'm okay. That's probably my biggest peeve. And I want to take back saying hate, because I don't hate those. I don't hate anything. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but I strongly dislike having to depend on people. And that's a typical Grace tangent, which I'm going to try and avoid. So, my dependence on others, it's gotten a lot better. When I was in the hospital, my mom, I won't get into the details, but I was 100% dependent on her. And even now, I can't be left at home alone for more than a couple of hours. Otherwise, I'll just get into too much mischief and be an escape artist, which I have been banned from doing. How has it altered the lives of those closest to me? Closest to me, I'm just gonna have as my parents and my family right now. I ruined the first couple of months of my parents being empty nesters, so they're no longer empty nesters until I'm able to live on my own. Hee hee. So we joke and say I did it on purpose, which I didn't, but someone did, so, that works. My mom has just dropped everything and is my full-time aide. I couldn't have asked for a better family to be in if a situation like this happened, because they've all just gone way out of the way to just help me in everything, every possible way. And then apart from them, I guess, I don't know. I don't know if it's altered the lives of, the people that I'm closest to in Austin, because we still are in communication a lot. So, I don't know. That's something that maybe they can tell me. Um, so the biggest challenges that I have had going out in public and around the house are what's going to be ADA compliant, because as I am finding out, not a ton of things are, including the apartment that I live in Austin, as well as the house that I grew up in, so which is where I'm staying right now. And so really, probably the biggest thing for me is whether or not their restroom is handicap accessible, because I have a peanut bladder, and that's not very fun. So for a while at home, it was just going to the restroom, and so I had to use a chamber pot sort of chair thing that chilled beside my bed, because it was just too hard and not really feasible for me to get into the half bath that we have downstairs. And then for taking a shower, it's been very convenient because I am a pretty disgusting human being and I don't like taking showers. So it hasn't been that hard to not take showers. But I mean, if that wasn't the case, it would be more difficult. So I am using the outdoor shower that we have and sitting on top of an ice chest. So very luxury accommodation, and I'm fine with it. And then going out in public, other than the restroom thing, it's really just dealing with the people around, because I've always been aware of how big of a disconnect people have from what's going on around them, but it's made me realize how big the disconnect is. And I don't know if it's just the people that I've encountered or if it's because I'm someone that's always acutely aware of everything going on around them. But but it's been really at times frustrating to have to sit there and, I don't struggle between needing to ask someone to please move a little bit, and not wanting to, just because I don't want to disturb them. But a lot of people will just kind of stare, and I don't think they're staring maliciously or staring consciously even in most cases, but a lot of people will just kind of stare. And then when you finally get their attention, they'll go, oh wow, I'm so sorry, and so I mean, that's been really challenging. But I'm in this situation temporarily, and so I can't even imagine how many more things could be so frustrating, especially if someone didn't have as much help as I do, and wasn't as fortunate as I am. That would make that would be a whole nother ballpark, or as him. So 6, how has it affected my social life? Not more than he has. So it's affected his social life most, I think, because we would go to parks a lot, and now he just kind of chills. But in terms of my social life, I am not a big fan of having texting as the only, or really the major form of communication with people. So, I mean, that really stinks, but the people that I keep in contact the most with, I can FaceTime with and Skype, and they come visit me in Houston. But then also the tricky thing is that I think a lot of people that have had a fair amount of exchanges with me know I'm a pretty intensive person, just in that, I I commit to people and commit to things, just very, I guess, kind of steadfast. And so what that entails a lot of times is just spending a good amount of time with people, face to face. I like face to face, one on one, and I'm okay with people hanging out with me because of this one. So I mean, yeah, it's tricky because the people that I interact with the most, like, aren't able to pick up everything and come live with my parents too, but I can still see them, and they know that I'm an overcommitter, and am too intense. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that I get to work on, is not being as intense, and as much of a committer, or at least, having people realize that I am. So, then I think this context is pretty funny, so I'll just share it. I apparently am known to be one of the brightest and sweetest people that the question asker has met. So, question is, how do I stay positive during this, and has my mentality been altered in any way? And staying positive in this it's really difficult not to. I can't stay negative for too long. He's a big part of this, part of why. But, I think if this accident had happened a couple months ago even, I would be in a completely separate state, because really it was around mid-March I kind of had I guess sort of come to Jesus with myself, and I've really been kind of sitting down and figuring things out, and just kind of getting rid of everything that's extraneous and becoming completely comfortable with myself, and just accepting what I am and who I am, and what I'm passionate about, and trying to figure all of that stuff out, and really just figuring me out. And so my mentality hasn't been altered that much since then. I mean, I'm still growing a ton. I would argue to say I'm growing more mentally than I am physically right now, which I think is really good, because it was really necessary. And so, that, I guess it really helps to have a strong, positive mental game in something like this. Yeah, so that's been really cool. That's also something that I am more than happy to go into if anyone is interested. So, staying positive, I think I cried twice when I was still in the hospital. Outside of when I was in my delirium stages of just being completely doped up on meds. But other than that, I haven't, because anytime I start to get down, it's just like, if I wasn't supposed to be here, I wouldn't be here. And, just kind of, yeah, whatever happens, happens, and whatever happens is supposed to happen. Jesus. And so then, in what ways have I had to get kind of creative when it comes to accomplishing certain tasks or activities of daily living, as they are referred to? And I've had to get creative in a lot of ways. I'm not able to really do any form of exercise, which has been really, really tricky, and that sucks. That's so getting creative in terms of that means, vacuuming the floors. That has to be. so I scoot around and kind of will drag the vacuum with me. And then, what else? Getting creative. Oh, apparently the way I used the bathroom in rehab and what I kind of, I guess, took home with me, apparently that was super creative. And that was just putting the toilet chair up next to the bed and sliding from the bed to the toilet chair, so that I didn't have to get up and didn't have to use a bedpan, because bedpans are the worst. Physical activity I've had to get really creative with. Try and figure things out. There's a can of tomatoes on my desk that I use as a weight for my right arm. And I started using weights for my left arm again, and 6 pounds was heavy for me. So it's going to be a long, slow road to recovery. And then it's just funny how many different things you can come up with. Like having to write with your left hand, and playing piano with 3 fingers instead of 5, and just a bunch of different things. And there are a couple exercises that we used in the rehab center, and it's like the little stress ball, and you write numbers on it, and then you look at one number, so if it was a 1, and then you squeeze it and rotate it to a 2, and it's been really neat to see my progress in that, because when I first started, I couldn't even move it in my right hand. So, getting dressed was really difficult and required a lot of help. And now it's pretty easy, because I can do this, and that's really big. But other than that, everything has to be low. You get really creative with your toe work and your and being able to shower and reach up and kind of get to the top of your shoulder. Then anything else care to talk about or comment? I am kind of long-winded and get off topic a ton, so I think I've talked about everything, but if there are any further questions, I will respond to them in a much more timely manner. So I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for bearing with me while I've been tried not to be super awkward. So, yeah.